It's actually, we'll just get started. My favorite thing about Ben, I've chatted with him a lot. I met him just a few months ago. Is when you go through and I look at his LinkedIn, and what really stands out to me is his headline, which says, "Imagine being able to hold your client's attention while telling them your story in their bathrooms. We can do that." And it's pretty funny because there's the thing about Zoom is people forget that they're not alone, and they do things. And that bathroom joke is literally has so many things. My daughter's a recruiter for the city of Vancouver, and they were doing a like a town hall for applicants, and they had a bunch of people on. And next, she noticed that one girl's laptop, she saw like the ceiling, and goes, "Wait a minute, there's a fan." And she actually walked into the bathroom, and then she heard, "Oh," and then it went blank. So without further ado, I will turn you everybody over to Ben Baker, the man from so many.
The man from Uncle.
Here. Man from Uncle, your brand marketing podcast for hire, and all sorts of stuff. So I'll leave it to you, Ben.
Perfect.
Should we shut off the video?
You know,
it's whatever you prefer. I actually, for the recording, I always put it to speaker view, so Ben occupied most of my screen with everybody else there.
Okay.
Perfect. So you guys can all see the slideshow.
You bet.
Perfect.
Yep.
So welcome everybody. As Jeff was fond to say, is I tend to sit there and live my life with a mission statement: is how do I get people to understand, first of all, understand their story effectively, and second of all, how to tell it. That's the challenge. First of all, most people don't understand what their story is. They don't understand where they came from, who they are, how they got there, what their value is to others, what makes them unique, and with that, being able to tell that story. And because of that, so many companies have become commodities. And my goal in life is to stop being a commodity and start being a brand worth loving. It is imperative for companies to understand what makes them unique, what makes them different, why a certain audience should care. Too many companies are sitting there going, if you have a Visa card and a heartbeat, you're my client. That couldn't be further from the truth. 99% of the world will never know your name. That's reality. 99% of the 7.5 billion people in the world will never know you exist. And of those 750,000 people, or whoever it is, it's the 1%. The question is, do those people care? Will those people remember who you are? Will they find you valuable? Do they think that you can solve a problem that they have? And will they tell other people about you? And that's what we're all about. We're all about sitting there going, do you understand who you are? Do you understand who you're not? Do you understand who you're valuable to? Do you understand who you're not valuable to? Do you understand why you're valuable to these people? And when you do understand that, do you have the ability to clearly communicate that value in a way that resonates, that people will internalize, they're going to recall, and they're going to take action on? So we've got two brands. One is your brand marketing, and the other one is podcast host for hire. Everything's under the your brand marketing moniker, but let me explain to you what the difference is. The your brand marketing is the consulting arm. This is what we do. We sit there and work with you and your teams to be able to understand what your brand is and how to develop it accordingly. Whether we're communicating inside your company or externally, because I'm a big believer of until the people inside your business, your employees, understand what your true value is, they're never going to provide your customers with that value, and they're never going to build brand champions outside the company that are loyal and that want to tell your story to others and bring other people to you, to your business. That's how we stop being a commodity. We stop being a commodity because we provide a customer experience. And we'll get back into that. Now, the Podcast Host for Hire is a program that we have, and this is a done-for-you, customized and branded podcasting service. It's for companies out there that know they need a podcast, that know they need to tell their story authentically. They're looking for a different way to connect with their audience, but they have no idea where to start, or they don't have the talent inside the company to be able to pull it off. There's 850,000 podcasts out there today. The majority of them never make it past the 10th podcast episode. And the reason for that is they don't have the creativity content, they don't have the plan, they don't have the strategy, they don't understand how to put all the pieces together, and also how to distribute it effectively week after week after week. We have a podcast that has been running called the Your Living Brand Live show for nearly 4 years. We have over 170 episodes. We have got hundreds and hundreds of hours of broadcasting behind us and the distribution channel, and we know how to put all that together. We know how to help our customers tell their story in an authentic way and give them the opportunity to be able to tell it effectively. And what we do is we give each of our guests 30 pieces of content that are edited from each episode in order for them to continue to tell their story, because that's where the real value is. It's not the one episode. It's not the one time you're on the air. It's how you utilize that information. How do you take that and turn that into blog posts? How do you turn that into, Instagram posts or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn? How do you create a blog post out of that podcast? How do you sit there and turn that into material that resonates with your audience in different ways? Because some people are on Instagram, some people are on Facebook, some people like Twitter, some people LinkedIn, some people want to actually read an article, and some people just want to listen to your podcast as they're out for a walk, they're in the bathroom, or they're just in their car. So it's a matter of understanding that a podcast not only is valuable because of the content format that it is, but it also provides you with an enormous amount of content that you can use throughout your system to be able to continue to tell your story in an authentic way. Now, we've written 2 books. The first book came out in 2018, and the second book came out this year. They really feed off of each other, and they go into our philosophy of leadership. And we work with a lot of teams, a lot of companies, we're helping them tell their story to build better leaders. Our goal with telling the story is to help leaders listen to and understand and engage with their employees, build better teams. And that's done through people understanding not only the personal value of the person leading the team, but also understanding the value of the company itself, and be able to make sure that everybody understands how they belong to the company and how what they do matters. Now, Power of Personal Brands is a workbook that's about 200 pages. We tell stories, and what we do is we leave room at the back of every chapter to be able to understand who you are, what you do, and why you do it. It's really a compilation of how to be a better leader and how to communicate your value more effectively. And it works for salespeople as well, to be able to sit there and have more confidence in yourself. So that way you become a better listener. Because that's the fact that most salespeople spend too much time talking, not enough time listening, not enough time understanding, not enough time building trust. And this book helps do that. Now, Leading Beyond a Crisis came out this year, and it was developed through the actual COVID-19 period. My partner and I, Claire, did a podcast, 12 episodes, about 6 hours, and we realized that the material that we came out with the podcast was so powerful and people really enjoyed it that much that we turned it around and created a book out of it. And it was extremely, valuable to people, because what it's doing is it's looking at, yes, you need to keep one eye on what's going on now within your company. You need to make sure you're taking care of people. You need to make sure that the day-to-day operations happen. But everybody was taking one eye off the horizon. everybody was taking their other eye off of what's next, what's coming down the pipe. What do we need to be worried about? What do we need to be excited about? What do we need to be looking out for to make sure that we're successful, not just today, but in 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road? And that's what this book is about, is to sit there and say, okay, how do we make sure that we balance our individual needs on a day-to-day basis and make sure we can keep the lights on and everybody safe and healthy, but also taking a look and saying, all right, how do we build a leadership team that looks towards the future and says, what are the things, what are the blind spots that we're missing? What are the opportunities that we're not paying attention to that could hurt us moving forward or be able to support us and make us stronger? So that's what these two books are about. And they really sit there as a compilation, first of all, to get you to understand who you are as a leader and then how to lead more effectively. So let's talk about the main thing. And here's the thing with me is I want this to be a conversation. I want this to be, you know, there's just a few of us, but what I want to make sure is we have a conversation. And if you have any questions, please ask it, because communication, both inside and outside the company, is what makes the company valuable. And the problem is we need to first understand what communication is. Most people take a look at communication as being able to say, okay, how do I get my message out to people? How do I push information out in such a way that it's just out there and it's out there everywhere? That's only half of communication. The more important part of communication is, once that material is out there, is to be the person who's listening for reaction. How are people taking in your information? What does it mean to them? How are they reacting to it? How are they mulling it about? What are they doing with it? Is it resonating with them? Do they find you valuable, and do they want to work with you? Because in the car industry, what you sell is a commodity. You sell cars, you sell service in the fact that you fix cars. What differentiates you as an industry is how you, as a specific dealership or a brand, react to the various needs of your specific audience. The people that come in your door are the people that are your audience. Those are the people that you care about. And the question is, how do you create a customer experience from end to end, from the minute they walk in the door to the minute they buy their next car and beyond, to make sure that these people feel special, that they feel listened to, they feel understood, and they feel valued. Now, I love telling this story because it illustrates a point. You know, when my son was first born 16, 17 years ago, we ended up having to get my wife a new car. The car she had was a Nissan NX. It was a two-door car. She absolutely loved this car. It went like a rocket. It was a lot of fun. It was electric blue. Her parents bought it for her when she graduated university. She loved this car. She had to get rid of it because the baby seat would not fit in the back of the car. Now, think about it. We're at a stage where we have a brand new born baby. You know, we need to get another car because I don't fit in her car. I'm 6'2". I can't just give her my Volvo and take her car and swap cars and be done with it. We need to get her a brand new car. And she said, I want a new car. I said, fine, no problem. We'll take a look and we'll go to the market. And before we got there, she researched, as most people do, the cars out there. She went online, she saw the reviews, she took a look at different models. We even went and we rented a car for a couple of days just to see if she actually liked it. And what we ended up with was another Nissan. She loved the Nissan. So we went and got her a Nissan Altima. And what we wanted was to trade in the old car at the dealership, buy the new car, and be done with it. We knew which model we were selling. We knew exactly the model and the color and the make and the model of the car that we wanted to buy. We knew we were buying the extended warranty. We knew approximately what this car should cost us. And all we wanted to do was facilitate the process. Well, you would think that we were asking for the impossible. Nobody was listening to us. Nobody was sitting there trying to make it easy process to buy. Everybody was trying to slow us down and show us other models, other different things and different options, stuff like this. And we're going, no, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for. We've already gone and done the research. And we walked out of 4 different dealerships because we couldn't get somebody to listen to us. Now, we finally settled on a dealership that did it, and we show up to pick up the car. And the car's not ready. And we have a newborn baby that's fussing and stressed and all the things with it. And it was 2 hours before this car was ready. And did they even sit there and say, you know what, can we install the baby bucket for you to show you how it fits in this particular car? No. It was the most unaccepting, horrible experience that we had. And this company that we bought this car from with an extended warranty had the opportunity to have us walk into the service bay and be a customer forever, because my office happened to be 5 doors down from the dealership. We never, ever, ever took the car back to that service bay to have a deal, because the experience with the company was so terrible. And we had we left with such a bad taste in our mouth that we found somewhere else to get the car serviced. And the opportunity that was lost from that dealership was thousands of extra dollars, because my wife makes sure that whatever needs to be done to that car, whatever's the recommended thing for the first 5 years that was under warranty, that's what got done. And we made sure the tires got rotated and the oil got changed and the spark plugs and everything that needed to be done got done. But they lost out on it because they didn't provide us with an easy customer experience. And all they needed to do was sit there and look and say, who's the customer? I'm not the customer. Yeah, okay, the money comes out of a joint bank account. But my wife is the one that's going to be driving this car. She's the one that's got to feel comfortable. She's the one that's got to feel special. She's got to be the one who's got that new car feeling and the excitement of driving off the lot. She's the one that has to have the handoff and say, you know what, let me introduce you to somebody in the service department, and this is Jane, or this is Mary, or this is Bob, and they're the ones that are going to be able to take care of you. Here's their card. If you have any questions, please give us a call. And a month later, get a phone call and say, how are you guys liking the new car? Or 2 weeks later, how are you liking the new car? Did you get everything? And it's that experience that either sets you up for success or it sets you up for failure. And too many dealerships and too many companies outside, and I can talk about, the appliance industry, I can talk about insurance, I can talk about a lot of different places, but they all take a look at, sit there and say, how do I do this one sale instead of how do I build a customer? And we need, as companies, to be sitting there going, if we want to learn how to communicate effectively, if we want to learn how to demonstrate our value, if we want to learn how to build trust and build relationships, we need to train our people inside our company how to provide an end-to-end customer experience and have those handoffs from the front reception all the way to the service bay and everybody in between. So everybody feels special when they walk in the door. Everybody feels that they're valued. Everybody feels that their dollar matters. And they're not just another inconvenience. Oh God, it's another car I got to deal with today and another customer I got to deal with today. It'd be like, how can I help you today? We need to learn how to communicate effectively, because if our own people are not providing that service, that differentiation, that uniqueness, that value, nobody's going to talk about us. Or they're worse, they're going to talk about us, negatively. We need to think about that it's not the direct mail. It's not the social media. It's certainly not the phone calls of calling people over and over again saying, when are you coming into the dealership? It's that experience that we give people to make them feel that A, we care, B, they can trust us, and C, we're going to take care of them over and over again. and we value their relationships. And because of that, we're going to value the relationships of the people they recommend to us. We need, as businesses, to get away from thinking about individual sales and long-term relationships, because an average person buys how many cars in a year, in a lifetime? How many friends do they have that need cars? Truthfully, if I never had to go into a dealership again, if I could just buy the car online, because I know what I want. The majority of people in buying cars today have more knowledge at their fingertips by the time they walk in the dealership than the average salesperson does. They know more about the car, what's important to them, what they need from that car, and it's just a matter that sit there going, who can facilitate this process? You're not selling the car, you're facilitating the process, because the car, pretty much by the time most people walk in the lot, there are people that walk in and say, you know what, I have no idea what I want. But the vast majority of people that are ready to buy, that are actually out there looking to spend money that day, know pretty much what they want in terms of the color, the make, the model, the features, everything that they have, they already know, because what they've done, they've seen, and it's been communicated to them, and they've gone out there and looked at the information, and what they're looking for is the right company that is different, that is going to take care of them. So that's
Ben,
where communication needs to start. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I was waiting for a place to jump in. That's so very, very, very true what you're saying. And these days, I made a joke there in the chat back when your wife was looking for a car and you didn't see me. It's so
I didn't know
true.
you at the time.
There you go. And I would have given you an amazing experience. But all joking aside, it's very true today, even more so than back then, because we find people in the car business that people walk in and they say, I want an XYZ with an RTXY package with this engine and that. I want it in blue. I saw you have one, and now treat me well.
Yeah. Yeah. And the problem is most salespeople are not trained what to do in that particular case. We train our salespeople, and whether it's insurance, whether it's cars, whether it's, appliances, whether it is, to talk about features. Features may be benefits. But the question is, what they should be talking about is, what does the individual person, what's important to that person who's in front of me? Is it horsepower, or is it safety? The majority of salespeople look at the husband to make the decision. And guess what? They're not the ones making the decision. They're not the ones that are making the decision 9 times out of 10, because it's usually a car for her. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have had my wife's single friends take me onto the car lot because they feel that if they don't, they're going to be taken advantage of. And the sales reps keep looking at me. They kept looking at me. I'm going, look, I'm here. I'm the driver, and I'm here to make sure she's not being taken advantage of. She's your client. Deal with her. And I've said that 4 times during the sales presentation, where they keep looking at me. They keep handing me the business card. They keep, trying to close me. I'm going, I'm just here to make sure they're not getting taken advantage of. They're the person you should be paying attention to. And we need to be able to train our sales people better. We need to train our customer experience people better. We need to be able to train our service people better. It is very little to do with features and benefits anymore, or whether people want torque or horsepower or moon roofs or this or that, the other thing. People want to feel safe in their car. They want to make sure that it's going to get them from A to B. Beyond that, it's a visceral thing. Some people. Oh, it's Lorraine. I haven't seen Lorraine in a long time. Welcome, Lorraine. It's how.
Sorry to just join you now.
No,
sorry,
you're welcome.
Okay.
I'm not starting from the beginning, I tell you.
Okay, no, sorry.
But it's amazing to me how many people don't ask the question, what's important to you? What are the features that are important to you in the car, and why? Why are these things important to you? Because if sales reps, if customer experience reps, if service reps, if whoever, even your finance people, ask the question, what's the most important things to you? It's amazing the answers you're going to get and how much easier the sale becomes when you understand what's valuable to the customer. And that's where I get back to my original point of communication is a two-way street. We need to sit there and say, not only this is what we can do for you, but what do you need? And then be able to be quiet and listen. We need to be better listeners, because that's the part of communication that most people don't get. It's listening for the nuances. It's listening for what are the things that the other person cares about, what matters to them. Because if we can do that, we're going to be better off. Now, Lorraine, it's funny. I've known Lorraine for years. She and I are both longtime direct mail people. There's ways that we can use direct mail to be able to create that visceral thing and be able to move people through the process that people don't really get. It's those invitations. It's not just saying, hey, look, listen, come down to our dealership. It's come down to our dealership for a very specific reason. You need to come down to our dealership for a very specific reason. We're going to have an open house. We're having a test drive day. We're having, we're going to have a factory rep come in and talk about new safety features of the car. Different things that allow people to come in for different reasons, and be able to segment your list based on what people have bought in the past. Years ago, and I don't know if this is myth, legend, or whether this is true, one high-end luxury brand got a hold of the leases of another high-end luxury brand.
Oh.
And created a direct mail piece that was variable down to the individual person. It was a color direct mail piece that if you say you had a red two-door soft top BMW, on the thing would say, wouldn't you rather drive a Mercedes? And it would have the red soft top two-door Mercedes of the same caliber, that with the information that they had a 35 or 40% response rate. If this is true legend, this is a story that was told to me 15 years ago.
Wow.
And it's a matter of sitting there going, okay, we know that people's leases are up in 36 months. So we start talking to them at 24 and say, okay, what can we do to get you into a new car that's going to make you have that visceral feeling? Because people that lease cars, they have an emotional attachment to them. It's not just usually the economics behind it. They love the new car feeling. They love the new car smell. They love the new car things. People that want to keep their cars forever buy them on a 60-month plan. They'll buy them out. But the people that are leasing cars usually have a far more visceral emotional attachment to the actual vehicle itself. And therefore, you need to be able to play off of that and be able to create a marketing piece that talks more about the emotional attachment to the brand, to the color, to the fact that these people buy two-door cars instead of four-door cars, whatever it is, and be able to niche it down. So when you're talking to them in their language, in a way that emotes with them, in a way that is visceral to them, that drives them to your dealership. And then you need to have staff that are prepared and ready and trained to be able to deal with those people when they come in the door. It's all about the experience. It's all about from, the pre-sale to the sale to the post-sale. And it's facilitating the process. It's not selling anybody. It's not about being salesy. It's not about, being pushy. It's about sitting there going, how can I help you make the decision that you're already wanting to make and make it easier? And that's what we need to be able to train people. And the podcast Host for Hire, just to flip back to that, is a process that does that. By creating a podcast that talks to strategic partners, vendors, employees, customers, and week after week talks about, what do cars mean to you? What are the things that you see of value? What are the things that you see new and exciting in the industry? What are some things that people should be thinking about, and taking it from a wide variety of viewpoints? What you do is you create a catalog of information that not only becomes marketing externally, but also becomes information and insight inside the company. And that's powerful. And that's a different way of thinking, because the problem is we all get groupthink. Car people hang around with car people. Insurance people hang around with insurance people. Finance people hang out with finance people. We only go to our own trade shows. We only talk about what we talk about, and we're not looking at what other people are doing and how other people are thinking that engage with us. We don't think about the customer. We don't think about the other relationships. We just think about how it affects us. We have to stop thinking about how sales affect us. We need to start thinking about how do we serve our customers better. And when we do that, when we have that viewpoint in mind, when leadership is on board with that, when sales is on board with that, when customer experience is on board with that, when service is on board with that, relationships get formed, and all of a sudden, those few extra dollars mean nothing. If a car is $25,000 or $26,000, means nothing if the person feels that they're being taken care of. So there's a long way I can go with this, but I want to stop and I want to have people ask some questions, because it's how do we help you communicate more effectively? How do we help you build effective communication programs that are going to make you valuable to the people that you want to talk to, whether those people are inside the company or outside the company?
Awkward silence. John, any questions?
Well, I'm going to make a comment, and that's, relative to the experience that you had, and sadly, many people have when they go out to purchase a vehicle. When you talk about training, that's one of the things that I do, is train people that are new to the business, and ideally retrain those that have been at it for a while. And one of the first things I tell people when they come to our session is, do not go back and tell your dealer principal, general sales manager, or sales manager what I'm about to say. I'm not going to teach you how to sell. I'm going to teach you how to help people buy.
Yeah.
And basically follow exactly what you've talked about. And what's interesting is, of course, as we know, many dealerships out there, or dealer principals or general managers or sales managers, all they care about is hammering and closing that deal. It's all transactional. Never mind the person. Let's get that thing over the curb. And we don't think long term. We think very short term.
Well, it comes down to those boards that are on every sales manager's office wall that talk about how many cars did we sell this month, and did we sell more this month or did we sell last month? And look, and then you rank the individual salesman, and did that salesman sell more cars or less cars this month? The question is better off is, how profitable were we? And that's a question that people don't ask. It says, what's our long-term profitability? What kind of referrals did we get? How many people that actually bought the cars actually took those cars to our service bays? Mm-hmm. And I think that where sales managers and operations managers and senior managers, senior leadership are asking the wrong questions, because they're all sitting there going, how do we turn the cars on the lot, which is important. But the question is, how do we turn the cars on the lot and make sure that we build a long-term relationship where we can keep getting money from these same people month after month, year after year, decade after decade, and be able to pull all of their friends onto our lot instead of having them go somewhere else?
It's a very interesting comment. Sorry, go ahead, Lorraine.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks. Sorry, I was on a sales meeting, so I ran a little late.
But were you treating your clients properly?
Well, this is it, and it's about the suppliers too, right? It's about the everybody. The suppliers keep you going, and as well as the salespeople, as well as your whole vision. But um, what you were just saying about the how to approach effectively. I mean, it's multi-platform on my side of marketing, and it's. I mean, people have gone to social media to be sure, but this tactile reference of saying to somebody and sending a piece of mail. Isn't just one time only.
No.
It's just like anything that we do. We have to. It's a relationship builder, and it's hard to how to convey that because people just think if you're going to say that or that offer or that conversation once, that it's going to resonate. It's only going to resonate when it's applicable, but it's also as a reminder. So if you do these mailings or you do a social media content or you're doing whatever, you just have to be consistent. They want to see that you're consistent.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think that's key. That's in anything that we do, I guess, is that we have to be consistent and committed to it.
Oh yeah. I mean, the one and done attitude of
Yeah.
we're gonna put one ad out there and then that's going to be our advertising budget for the month
Right.
is a really expensive way to do it because it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hit and miss. People today want to see consistency. Are you there for long term? Are you going to be there reminding me time after time after time? Because statistically saying, people don't see anything until they've seen it 7 or 8 times.
Mhm.
You know, and that's the truth. I mean, it's amazing how many Nissan Altimas I saw on the road after I owned one.
Of course.
You know, as soon as I owned a Nissan Altima, I saw them everywhere. You know, it's right now. Because a friend of mine just bought a Tesla, I'm seeing that Tesla Model Y, which he bought, everywhere. Because he showed it, we talked about it, and he was explaining to me all the emotional attachment and everything that he had to it. But it's the time after time after time, and that's the same thing with marketing. There's a big difference between marketing and advertising. Advertising is, we need to sell something tomorrow. Come into the store, we'll give you a discount. Here it is. It's a one-time offer, limited time. Buy it today or tomorrow it's gone. Marketing is how we communicate on an ongoing basis across multiple channels to be able to let people know the value of our brand to them and give them the opportunity that when they are ready, when they are in the market for whatever we have to sell, we become the value vendor of choice because we provided them ongoing content. We've provided them ongoing information. We've been there time and time again. So we built up that level of trust that say, oh, I should go into this dealership instead of this dealership. Why? Because, well, they really, I see their stuff everywhere, and it's always with me. And, the stuff that they give me is actually pretty good. They've actually saved me some money because I hadn't been thinking about this, and I did this. And you know what? I got better mileage out of the car that I actually have. So now that I need to buy a new car, maybe I'll go talk to them before I go talk to anybody else.
Here's
It's
an exceptional
ongoing
point,
communication.
My apologies, Ben.
Sorry,
Here's an
Jeff.
exceptional point. You brought up Tesla. Back in the day when they first came out with the Model S, there was another company called Fisker that was out at the same time. The Fisker car was amazing. Very funky. The looks of the car, even today, you see them driving around and people stop and stare. However, they had a reputation of being not very good, not very reliable. And I saw a post the other day on the Fisker, one of the chat rooms, and the guy said, very funny, Tesla has had more problems than Fisker, but they marketed it so well that people had to have it. And even today, they're not the best built. They got lots of problems fit and finish, but people are buying them like hotcakes at $70,000 to $200,000.
Crazy. Not crazy, but yeah. But I mean, it goes back to the Tucker. I mean, the Tucker, that great movie and that great car that was produced in the United States, and they were going to introduce seatbelts, and that just sort of took away the whole dream machine, I think. But it was a beautifully built car. It was a gorgeous car, solidly built. It had all the safety features, but people didn't want it at the time. But Tesla did the marketing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sony versus Beta
Yeah.
versus VHS.
yeah.
Beta is a far better system. It was far better quality. It was far more reliable. But everybody bought VHS. Why? Because it was marketed better.
Mhm.
The same thing you can say about Apple and why nobody owns a BlackBerry anymore.
Mhm.
Or very
sure.
few people own a BlackBerry anymore. It's because marketing works, because marketing enables people to not only have brand awareness, but it enables them to develop brand trust. And the trust is what allows people to make mistakes and fix it and move beyond, versus the people that make mistakes, don't fix it, lose that trust, and therefore become low cost, low value commodities that are easily forgotten and easily replaced.
Can I
Yep.
speak of one model of what happened with a car dealership? There's things that you can do with your own database, and I think that the car dealerships have their own database from service as well as their previous purchasers or leasers. Um, uh, but with, let's say, with Canada Post, you can take your database now and for example, we could take that database, just the postal code, you don't have to give anything else but that, and it then provides you with lifestyles based on postal code. And then you can segment that by a geolocation of areas that have a certain income. Maybe you can even see that some of your clients in that area are purchasing. So then you can target to that area and say, hey, did you see recently, this car drive by because it was just purchased this past week from our dealership, that sort of thing. And you can use so much data that maybe is not being used, that is in-house already. And certainly with COVID, there's been a lot of changes. There's a lot of neighborhoods that you can certainly target now because people are home now. They're not at their businesses. They're at home now. There's this whole new approach of looking, not new approach, but really looking at what your data is telling you, and analyzing that a little bit better. So that's
And
one
a lot
way.
of that, yeah, and true, Lorraine, but a lot of
Yeah.
that comes down to garbage in, garbage out.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
If your salespeople, if your customer experience people, if your service people are not entering the data effectively, if you're not segmenting it effectively, if you're not, building into your system, how do we update the information, wedding dates, anniversaries, birthdays, all sorts of things. We used to do a birthday campaign for one of the casinos, where we sent 50,000 birthday cards for that month and got 45% of those people walk in the door every single month.
Don't
because
forget it's a casino though, Ben.
No, it was because we had built it with a specific offer that was valuable to them. And not only did they come down themselves, but they brought their friends with them because we made it an experience. And when we start making the car dealership, instead of them being these grand palaces, we make them these experiences. I mean, here's a question for you. How many dealerships have a specific area in them for kids to play in? A safe place for the kids to play while mom and dad are actually doing it. How many dealerships have, mascot stuffed animals that they can give out to the little kids when they come into the dealership? How many dealerships have desks with strong Wi-Fi and plugs set up for them so people can be comfortable when they're actually there? How many people actually have good healthy snacks sitting in a vending machine or whatever, so people, when they're sitting there waiting for their service or they're waiting for whatever, they can actually get something healthy as when they're waiting around. It's a matter of sitting there going, what are the little things that are going to keep people in the dealership and going to make them happy to be there, instead of them sitting there going, oh God, I got to sit around on this couch with six other people, for the next half hour, 45 minutes, staring at the walls while I'm waiting to find out whether my car is going to be ready in 30 minutes or an hour and a half. We need to think about, how do we make things better for our customers? How do we make things more effective for our customers? Little things like when a mother comes in with two small kids and needs to drop off her car for service, that the sales or the service department automatically goes into her back seat, grabs the two car seats, puts them into the service vehicle, and make sure that they're strapped in and safe for the mom before because when she comes out and she's ready to drive off, she doesn't have to go there and transfer the car seats and figure out how to get things into that car herself. It's little things like that that differentiate you as a dealership and enable you to be the one that people talk about.
There's one factor that's needed and that's missing.
Yes.
Somebody in power has to care.
Yes.
And the biggest
Exactly.
failing of the car business is, it's just like John said, don't go back and tell your manager, your GM. The biggest factor is like you just said, Ben, that the powers that be look at the numbers. How did we do this? They don't realize how you get it there.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody at the top has to honestly care. And that's probably the biggest failing of any business.
And I think that goes way beyond the car industry.
Yep.
We need to not only have a purpose for our business, but we need to believe in the purpose of our business, and we need to live the purpose of our business.
Very true.
Because if we don't, then we're just another commodity. And it's amazing to me how many companies sit there and say, well, why don't people come back to us? Why don't they do the service here? Why don't they buy their next car here? Why don't they do this? It's just because people don't care about you, because you don't care about them. And it's really that simple. And if I have any message to any GM out there, it's, you need your purpose is. And if it's just to sit there and turn over cars on a monthly basis, you're just going to be fighting the commodity slog for the rest of your life.
No question. There's something else too with the car industry, especially, and actually I'm seeing it in insurance too, is it's becoming more and more owned by corporations. And unlike in the States, when you've got the Auto Nations of the world, that the general manager of the store runs his or her store. Let's start his. Sorry, Lorraine.
Yeah.
Store the way
their store. There we go.
Their store within a very loose parameters. So of course they can't do anything illegal or they can't do anything immoral, but they can run it that way. One of the problems that we have here is if you have a GM, and I love your comment about the mascot. That's phenomenal. John, if you tell anybody you pay me a royalty and I'll pay Ben a royalty.
And I can get those mascots made for people.
I know you can. But the mascot, can you imagine when the accountants at head office take a look and go, stuffed animals, $2,000? What the hell are you doing?
Or $40,000.
Well, whatever. I sent two. I have a GM that I know who's part of a large group who has been suffering from used cars to sell used cars for years, even now when used car sales are going crazy. I talked to him and I says, hey buddy, you know what, I'll come and help you. Depending on success depends on what you pay me. He says, I'm sorry, I can't. He says, why? He says, they won't let me. And I said, and he knows what I know, and I'll pat myself in the back. I think I'm pretty good at used cars. And he said, even though I know how much you can help me, they won't let me do anything to anybody. And I said, well, okay, tell you what, I'll do it free. Then you'll present it to them and show them how good it was. And he said, they still won't.
Well, here's my take on things. If the industry doesn't change, because we're in a customer experience economy, the industry will change them, because the Carvanas and places like that are gaining momentum. and there's 100 different ways that you can buy a car rather than going into a dealership. And sooner or later, the manufacturers of the cars are going to wake up and realizing that an online true customer experience model, where you actually sell the cars through the manufacturer, and all the dealers become our service bays, could become reality.
Well, Tesla's doing it right now.
Exactly. And then you truly do need to differentiate yourself, because if all you are is another service bay, people will come in and have their car serviced with you once. But if they don't trust you, if they feel that you're overcharging, or if you're not taking care of them, or you're not listening to them, they'll go find somewhere else. And there's so many different options out there. There's so many different places to go to get service done, that people are not willing to put up with bad service and be able to put up with bad customer experience anymore. The only way they'll do it is if you are dramatically cheaper than everybody else. And guess what? If you're dramatically cheaper than somebody else, sooner or later, somebody's going to be dramatically cheaper than you are. And all that is a race to the bottom.
And the biggest challenge for the car industry, though, is some dealers are wildly successful doing the opposite of what we're talking about. They're wildly successful doing the old car business because their clientele, and we have to realize the more urban you get, the more sophisticated your experience has to be. I know dealers in smaller centers that, you know what, they've got somebody who bakes stuff and they've got baking right there. But the rest of the business, bam, they got you.
But you know what? If you're in a small center, you probably know the sales guys. You know who they are. You probably play baseball with their kids play baseball with your kids, or on the same football team, or play hockey, or the wives may be part of the PTA or part of business together, whatever. There's the small town relationships with the car dealerships. A lot of it comes down to the fact that somebody knows somebody that actually works for the dealership.
Yeah.
And that's, whether they admit to it or not, that is probably what sells cars more than anything, because people will drive 100 miles to go to a good dealership. In BC, people will get on a ferry and they will go to Duncan, or at least they used to buy cars, because they knew they were getting a better deal on cars in Duncan.
But they actually pay more on the island.
But the perception was
exactly
perception.
It all has to do with perception. Perception is reality.
Indeed.
No question there. Hey, question for you.
Yeah.
Well, the new reality
Yes.
reality right at the moment and for the next year, I say,
Yeah.
is COVID. How do you differentiate? Oh, that was easy for me to- Thank you so much.
That's all right. Say it 5 times fast.
I can't even say shaman sashimi. How will people take this information and put it out to be COVID friendly?
And I think that video, podcasting is one of the things, but I think video is got to come along with it as well. I think that we need to be able to show people, especially in a period where people are afraid to come in the dealership or any establishment for that matter, because they're worried about COVID. You need to be talking about here's what your experience is like when you walk into our location. Here's the experience. Here's what the front counter looks like. Here's the plexiglass up. Here's we have the sanitation stations all over the place. This is how we greet how we greet you, and it's also training your people to realize that conversations happen 6 feet away. That you put a mask on regardless. Like we were just at I had to help my mother-in-law buy a new refrigerator, and we went into two different places to buy it. One we went in, the guy walks up to us with absolutely no mask. My mother says, "I'm not talking to you until you put a mask on," and it set the tone for the conversation right then and there.
Probably
The other
put his
one,
hand out to shake her hand too, right?
he probably did. I don't remember, but the other one was the guy showed up with a mask on, 6 feet away, and started having a conversation.
Respectful.
Respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a conversation, and it was a respectful conversation at distance. His hands were behind his back, and and he was able to have that conversation without getting into each other's space, and it facilitated the conversation because my mother-in-law knew exactly what she wanted to buy. It was two different fridges. They were sitting right by side. Do I want the pull-out drawer or do I want the swing door? Okay, that was how difficult the decision was. We looked at one other fridge because she hadn't even thought about a French door one, and we decided not to go with that one. But it was the fact that we're training our people how to approach people, how to communicate with people, how to let people know what do we do when we're servicing your car to make sure when you get back in it that you don't have to worry about COVID, that your technicians are all wearing gloves, that they have masks on, that we disinfect the car before we send it out the door. Whatever you do, but you have videos that show what the process is and why you're doing it.
That's exceptional. Actually, you gave me an idea. Too bad I'm not in a dealership. It would be something that when somebody checks their car in, they immediately get an email or a text with the video. Thanks for leaving your car with us. Here's what we're going to do while it's here.
Exactly.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and
Information. Yeah.
And even people who are anti-maskers, COVID conspiracy theorists or anything, they're just going to say, oh, well, at least they care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
And that's the thing. The word care is the big thing. Because what you're doing is you're showing people that you're actually thinking about them. By creating that video, you're not making them be embarrassed to ask, how are you taking care of my car? How do I know that when I drive away that I'm not going to be driving away with COVID on the steering wheel?
Yep.
So it's little things like that, and we've suggested things like that to restaurants. We've in the insurance industry, how people come back to dealing with insurance brokers. Different industries are going to approach it slightly differently, but the more we can show people and the more we can talk about it and the more we're open about it, the more people are going to care. I mean, even just when you walk in the dealership, having a basket of paper masks just sitting there waiting for people.
Yep. Like
just
Costco.
right by the front door.
Yeah.
Here's the
With
the
pump.
hand sanitizer. Here's the hand sanitizer, and by the way, here's masks.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And I think Lorraine, you just said this. Can you imagine if you had paper masks with your company name on it, and little teeny tiny hand sanitizers that everybody got instead of using that giant communal one?
Yeah. And all that's
It'd be
available.
expensive. Yeah, and it'd be expensive, but you know what? Go a long way.
Well, you're branding again. You are branding,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Perfect.
And you don't have to go with paper ones. You could go with actual cloth ones that are branded, that people are going to use over and over and over again. So it becomes almost like that. You're giving people umbrellas anyway. In the dealerships, you're giving people umbrellas. You're giving people coffee mugs and stuff like that when they buy a car. Giving people that low cost mask that's got your branding on it, as long as it's done subtly.
And if I can say, with feeling. I mean, everybody's going through so much, different stages, right? So I think to acknowledge what people are feeling and have that feeling of care. I mean, I think about, that advertisement years ago, and it was for tires, and all they had to show was tires, a baby inside the tire sitting there,
Exactly.
safe. And that's sort of the same thing. We have to convey this safeness and ongoing respect, and that you are, what ultimately comes from that is that you're going to treat them well and you have the best product.
Yeah.
So It's not, it sometimes doesn't come to price anymore.
And it doesn't for me. I mean, I'm
Right.
a big believer of I will pay more
Yeah.
if I believe I'm getting the best service. If
Yeah.
no one's giving me service, guess what? I'm going to grind everybody for the price. But if truly, if there's one company out there that's $500 more, $1,000 more, and I feel that I'm being taken care of, I'm being listened to, I'm getting the value, and I feel that I can trust them, that's worth money to me. And it is to a lot of people. This is the experience economy. People are paying for experiences. People are valuing experiences way more than they value things. People will forget where they paid $25,000 or $26,000 on a car, but they're not going to forget how it felt the day that they drove that car off the lot.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to tell people about. They're not going to tell people whether they spent $25,000 or $26,000 on the car, but they're certainly going to talk about the amazing experience that they got and how they felt as they drove off the lot that day.
Yep, very good point. Very good point. Well, we're an hour into the show, and
Okay.
Ben, we thought we'd be done real quick, and I'm very pleased. Thank you, John, for attending. Thank you, Lorraine.
Oh, my pleasure.
Anybody's got any final questions?
Yeah. So before I take any final questions, let me make an offer. Anybody in the audience here who listens to it, anybody who is listening to this later, if you'd like a digital copy of either one of my books, email me at ben@yourbrandmarketing.com. Tell me that you saw me on the Auto Hub show, and I will send you a digital copy of my book.
Perfect.
Perfect.
That's a great thing, and just share it too, by all means.
Yeah, please share it with everybody. Anybody who contacts me, one way or the other, love to give them a copy of one of my books or both of my books. The question is be able to use it, to share it, and as long as they're going to add value, I'm happy to have them in people's hands.
Terrific. I got to tell you, you got some great stuff there, Ben. Even though it's common sense, and it should be anybody in business knows what to do, people get very jaded. They open up their doors every day. They do the same thing every day. Everybody's got pressure. Even the head of the owner of these great big dealer groups, well, they're under pressure because the manufacturer's saying, well, that 100,000 square foot building you built 5 years ago, ain't good enough anymore.
That's right.
And it is about making money, but the fact is there are a few people. Amazon's a perfect example. Make the experience good. They piss off a lot of people, but boy, oh boy, I heard that Jeff Bezos yesterday bought another 700-foot boat. So he's doing something right.
He's got to be doing something right.
That's right.
I'll take what he pays in taxes, even if he doesn't pay his fair share.
Yeah, that would work for me. Actually, I'd take what he pays to run that 700-foot boat.
There you go.
Everybody, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you for joining us, and have a great, I think we're all Canadian here today. Have a great long weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.